Hello ladies, I'm so glad to be back here, but I'm always very apprehensive about getting all the information together and remembering it. Just by putting one word to trigger my memory isn't always the best. And I am Mrs. Sherman, and I have created this Listen as you work video series so that you don't have to watch anything. I am not going to show you anything but my teacup. And so after that introduction, you'll be able to move along and listen. Maybe I can keep you company while you are homemaking, because homemaking is very isolating, and that is the point. You really can't do anything in the home in a group unless it's your own children, and even then they have to be guided and taught. So you will be taking time, a little time out, and sometimes jobs will take longer while you teach other people to do it. And I also do not have comments here on the video blog, but if you'll go over to my actual blog, where I also post other things like pictures. I kind of use it as everything. My Instagram, and it's my Facebook, and it's my everything, and I'm trying to limit the amount of things I have online to monitor, so I don't have comments here, but I do on my blog. And I am making these videos for my blog. YouTube is just a parking place for them. So I know a lot of you have subscribed, but these will only come up when there is a video. If you'll go to my blog and subscribe to my blog, you'll also get notification of anything I have posted that is outside of videos. So ladies, today I have quite a few things to talk to you about, and it's given me a little bit of nervousness because I have to have a good stiff drink of tea, of hot tea, Yorkshire Gold, or my hibiscus tea, which is non-caffeinated, and I have to have that before I can get the courage to come here and start this. And so today I am going to talk about my usual 3 things, if I can remember them. And the first thing is getting started, which would be your appearance and your mental alertness, and then your actual work, working in the home, and then dealing with people. And that's always the fun part because of the funny things they do and the way that we have to maneuver around them and work around them and still create a beautiful and peaceful and happy home. Now, today I want to talk about getting ready, getting dressed, and your clothing. But first, I'm going to teach you something about giving teacups away. And I often run into people, well, I don't literally run into them, but I meet people who love teacups, but they're lefties. They're left-handed people. And unfortunately, I'm just going to get over here and, no, I'm not. Unfortunately, most of the teacups are created for right-handed people so they can look directly at the largest emblem or picture that's on the side of that teacup is usually a rose, usually a flower, and the other side has a tiny little rosebud on it, so that the left-handed person will pick it up and the biggest flower will be away from them. I think I might be able to get that. No, I don't. And another thing I'd like to tell you is I don't edit my video because my time is so limited. All I can afford to do with time is talk, and if I were standing at the door with you and we were talking, and I would not be able to edit anything out of my conversation, and you wouldn't be able to replay it. But this way you get to replay it, you get to watch me spill my tea, you get to watch all the blunders, and I don't edit it because in real life, if we were together and I was having a class of some kind, I wouldn't be able to edit it. So I'm not editing. I don't want to take the time, and I honestly have so much to do that all I can afford is to take an hour out of my time and create this video for you. So today I want to show you something about giving teacups to those who are left-handed so that they have a picture on all sides of this teacup. Choose one that has a border like this. This is nice, isn't it? And it kind of goes with my my cardigan sweater. And it's made in England. It's called Rosalind China. I don't know what year, but I suspect it'd be from the 50s or 60s. Anything older than that is really pretty worn or too delicate to use. And I would probably give this to or serve tea to someone who was a left-handed person in this kind of a cup. The other kind of a cup that you can use is one that has an all-around print that is the same all the way around, so they can enjoy that print like this. And I hope that you remember that. A lot of lefties have complained about their teacups, that they want to buy, but the rose is on the other side, or, you know, it just kind of spoils it for them. So I wanted you to know that, and for whatever it's worth. And I would also like to thank you all for your prayers. So sometimes somebody will send me an email, which, by the way, if Blogger does not take your comment on my blog, you're welcome to go to the left over there and click on email me, and you can email me there. And I wanted to thank you all for your donations and for your prayers, especially. As every now and then I get an email where someone will say that they're praying for me, and I really need that, because I've got some hot spots in my house that have just gotten, they're called hot spots, meaning they are so overloaded with things that need to be gone through or things that need to be cleared out. And of course, the Homemaker is the only one that can actually do this. You know, people will offer to help you. Oh, come over and help you get rid of your stuff or whatever. But you, as a individual who maybe have accumulated things or have had to have certain things in your house, you know where it goes and what it's for and what to do with it and how much it costs and how much you invested in it and what you need to do with it. And really, you're the only one that can do all that. I mean, you can have some help, but really it's not wise to get somebody to help you. They might help you get rid of things that you really shouldn't be getting rid of, and we've probably all been through that and had to replace something. Or someone wants to help you with a garage sale, and over they come and they practically give everything away, or they drag things out that are not for sale. I've had that happen before, where somebody will find a box that was stored that had special treasures in it, and they'll pull that out from somewhere and stick that out there and sell it all. So be careful to be individual, to be independent, and to be very confident in your homemaking. And don't act like you need help, because really you develop your own style and your own help just by doing it, and you learn by doing. Now, one thing that we want to start out with in homemaking is start out with the preparation, the way you dress. And if you are stuck with clothing that you're not happy with, that's old and dull, and you don't like it, it doesn't inspire you, then I would say pay more attention to your hair and your face. And that way you give yourself a little bit of a lift when you walk past and you see yourself in the mirror. You can be happy. Now today I am wearing, everything here is from Walmart, and it's Time and True, a little white t-shirt with a bit of a binding on it that used to be satin, but I think it's worn off, and cardigan and a piece of jewelry, all from Walmart, all very reasonably priced. And I have only recently learned that a lot of people look down on people that shop there and say they shouldn't. But where are you supposed to go if you live in the country and that's the only place that you have, and it fits your budget? So, you know, we can't listen to that, and that's a bit of snobbery too, I think. And everything that I buy is under $20, and I can afford it, and it's great to have something extra that when I don't have time to sew, and I've got something that I can wear that's comfortable. And I try to get things made out of natural fibers such as cotton, linen, wool, that sort of thing. They're harder to find sometimes in these big box stores, but they can be purchased. So when stuck with dull clothing, fix yourself up a little bit more. Fix your hair up, and also sit down for a minute and make a list of what you'd like to do and what you know you have to do and what is absolutely necessary, and try to do what you like to do as well as what you have to do. Because sometimes what you like to do will enhance the home so much better and help you emotionally as well. So if you've got something you need to do now, and you need to fold something, sort something, put something away, load or unload the dishwasher, load or unload the dryer, sweep, anything that doesn't make too much noise that would drown me out, please do that. And don't sit here and watch me because I'm not performing. I don't have anything to show you except my teacups in the beginning, and now you're excused to go and do your work. So hopefully you can turn it on, and I hope I don't give you any bad news or anything to discourage you. And I want to tell you that last time that we talked about that word help out, and how that changed. And I believe it changed maybe by the colleges, and young men were coming home saying the woman should help out. And in those days, just before that, in the 1950s, we were told that to be a good helper and a good helpmeet and to help out, you managed the home for your husband and for your family. And that was what help meant. But now that everyone had been to college, they had been a little bit, their minds were changed to believe that helping meant helping with the money. Now, my mother, when she helped with the money, she kept track of it, and she saved it, and she paid the bills, and she did all kinds of things so that when my parents died, she had made a profit. And because of her frugality and her carefulness, and that's what help out meant. And she didn't have to get a job because she actually earned money by guarding the family income so carefully that everybody could live on it, and they had a little extra. Now we have a new word that I want to, and I call these words weasel words, because weasel words are words that hide the meaning, the real meaning of it. They won't ever tell you what they're really upset about or what they really mean. And they also slither around and change positions and change meanings. And this other word is called do something. This other phrase is called do something. And I remember getting an email once where a woman was really concerned about their income because it had been reduced, or her husband was changing jobs, and there was going to be a little bit of an adjustment. And she had concluded, she had kind of added this side of the and that side and subtracted and decided it wouldn't do, so she would have to, quote, do something. So watch out for that word, do something. And because at work, these men actually talk too much and reveal too much about their families, and many times your husband will be asked, what does your wife do to help out? So you've got that do and help out. And so they've changed the meaning of that, because really in the Christian world, in the biblical world, the woman was always doing something to help out to make sure that her husband was able to manage to get a job and to go to work and to provide for his family. And she made it possible, and she made it easier on him. But now it's all about money, and not about homemaking and watching the money and developing a home life for your husband and your children. It's not about that. It's all about helping with the money. And they will ask the question, what does your wife do to help out? Or they will say something like, my wife finally had to go do something. And that meant she had to go get a job. So you need to watch out for those weasel words, because they don't mean the same thing as they used to. And we need to have a lot of confidence, because we are doing something and we are helping out. These things that we do would cost an enormous amount of money. Just check how much it would cost to have maid service, and you will see it. Just to sweep a floor is, costs money. So you aren't actually putting money away, but you are preventing money from going out. And that is one of the biggest problems, is you need to have less going out. So anything that you can do yourself is better. And I discovered that years ago, and I bought a book called How to Cut Your Own or Anybody Else's Hair. And I learned how to cut my son's hair, my husband's hair, my daughter's hair. We learned how to, and to this day, my children know, that you don't have to go and get an expensive haircut. And I also learned how to do other things myself, so that there wouldn't be so much money going out, and so much, because there's more money going out for a haircut than you realize. Not only do you have to pay for the service itself, but you have to get there. You have to take time to get there, and that's time that could be used doing something else. So having a home haircuts was very helpful. We had a back porch, and we had outside, and so I'm not suggesting that everybody has to do that. If you've got the money, go ahead. But I wasn't interested in letting all that money go out, and especially these families that have a large family of boys, they might benefit from learning how to cut hair. And nowadays you have all kinds of different types of hair cutting machinery that just almost guarantees you a perfect haircut. So the subject, of course, is not haircuts. The subject is how we help out in so many ways by not letting so much of the family income go out. So we are helping in, we are helping in, we aren't helping out. We're helping in the house, and we're helping keep the money in. So now I want to talk about health for just a minute, because that's all part of your appearance too. And I know most of us feel like we're not in optimum health. We want to do just a little bit better, and also most of us want to not be quite so heavy. And I had taken some time away from the videos because I thought, I really need to get healthier, thinner, younger, and smarter. And then I discovered that might not ever happen, so I had to come back and talk to you. And so one of my things about health that I decided that I would do, and I watched to see what my weaknesses were. What is it that's preventing me from losing weight or being healthier? And that is, I love the taste of things. I love food, and there are some foods that I don't resist. I just refuse to resist, and for some reason I can't believe that I would ever be able to eat it again. And so I decided to do something that they used to do in the olden days, and that was, these women back in the olden days, and even in the Victorian times, they would just take a little pinch or bite of everything that they liked. They wouldn't just sit there and eat until they felt full on a certain food. They would just go to a tea party or a gathering and just take a bite of everything on their plate. And I know we don't like to waste food, so I've seen this at potlucks where people want to taste something, so they would just cut a smaller piece off of it. And that's smart. And one thing that I've started doing is taking the smallest plate. I'll take the tiniest plate I can find, and I will put a little dab of everything on it because I want to savor it, and I want to sip my tea and enjoy it and not deprive myself of anything. So I just take a bite of everything. Of course, there are some things that I don't eat because they have certain things in them that I react to. But I don't say anything about it, And so try a smaller plate and a bite of everything and eat it more slowly. And also, as I said before, eat everything as close to its natural form as it used to be. For instance, we could take it from, let's go from canned apples to dried apples to an apple pie to the apple, and get as close to the apple as you can. And one of my favorite things to do is peel an apple, chop it up, and just cook it on top of the stove with nothing in it, no sugar, anything. Get it into kind of an applesauce state, and then eat it with a little nice thick cream, and that's all. And a little bit, one apple. And the fat satisfies me, and the taste of the apple satisfies me. Even this little, whenever you cook a fruit, it always is going to be a little more tart or sour, and you have to expect that. But that's just an idea for you. And now I want to move on to working. And so working in the home, there is a tendency to feel, and maybe not you, but me in particular and other people. And by the way, I am videotaping in my little girl's guest room, or young lady's guest room, and it's becoming in danger of being my permanent studio because it never gets messed up like the rest of the house. I don't have to do much work before I can come in here. And so this is this blush pink that I just love, and it looks so pretty with everything. And on the end of the bed is one of those blankets from Mexico that's woven cotton, and people use those for keeping the heat out as well as the cold, and it's very interesting. A lot of people that have the RVs, the recreational vehicles, will take those blankets and put them in the front on the dashboard to keep it cool when it's parked. So I thought that was really interesting, and of course I really like those blankets, and I was thrilled to get that one. So ladies, today I want to talk about work and about the humble things versus the great things, and women especially. Now if you're young and you've just gotten into homemaking and you start sweeping, making beds, and doing dishes, but after a few days of it you think, it's the same thing over and over, why am I doing this? And how can this turn into something great? Because you're just doing it over and over. Well, there is a tendency of all of us to want to do something great, and especially young women, they love the idea of ministry, of helping people, of doing things for people, and they want to be in ministry. But if you've got any idea of what ministry really is, many of these young girls will go on missions and end up doing the same thing that they would do at home, cooking meals for people, and helping people with their housework, or helping in a big uh, organization, and doing a lot of that kind of work anyway. But at home, you're doing it for your own family, and it has a great benefit because these people are being cared for by you. They don't have to be cared for by somebody else. They're not a burden on anybody else because you're caring for them. And these humble things that you do every day are also great things. And we talked about before about the parables of Christ and how he often talked about some little thing, like the woman who swept the floor looking for a lost coin. And so, you know, these things that allude to housekeeping, like a dish that is washed, and or something else. And there are a lot of examples of it in the New Testament, especially in the Sermon on the Mount and other things. These little humble things are used as parables and as figures of speech constantly. So these are great things that you're doing, and it does turn into something great because you're bringing up a family that is going to benefit from having a nice, clean home and learn good organizational habits. And so, and I just talked to a friend recently who said that she is now learning better habits so that the work doesn't pile up and discourage her. And one of the things that I like to do, and I'm sure a lot of you have discovered it, is to think of something you would like to do after you're finished with a certain job that is not very interesting to you, but it must be done. And when you're finished, for example, cleaning the bathroom, then you decide, well, I'm going to find some new towels to put in there, or I'm going to create a new bouquet of flowers to put on the edge of the sink, or I'm going to buy a new bar of soap to put that's scented. And not everything has to cost a lot of money. Of course, we have the dollar stores here, which we just love. Sometimes they'll get brand name products in there. They're a little outdated, but not enough to make a difference. And I was going to tell you, did I tell you? Maybe I have to rewind. I can't rewind. So I'll just have to repeat it, is that the lipstick I'm wearing is from the Dollar Tree, and it's called Sunset Peach. And I have discovered that peach looks really good with colors like this, burgundy and wine, and so that's what I'm wearing. I don't wear lipstick all day long. I wear it for you for this video so that I won't depress you with what I really look like. So after I paint my face on, then I feel better, and I hope you feel better too. Now, the work is grueling. Sometimes it's hard, but if you will not allow, if you clean as you go, and you will not allow it to pile up for a work day, you'll be a whole lot better off. And that way, if suddenly company's coming or you need to have the house clean, there will only be a few minor things that you need to do. So you clean as you go. When you're in the bathroom using it, washing your hands, wipe the sink, shine the faucet, have a look at the trash can, and take the bag out and put a new one in, that sort of thing. And I've discovered some time-saving housekeeping things that I want to share with you. And one of them today is not to go around filling up all those trash cans. If you can take your refuse to the main trash can in your utility room, your laundry room, wherever you keep it, and keep those little ones free. You don't have to be changing them all the time, but that's just up to you. Now, if you've got a lot of people around, that's not going to work. But if there are just a few of you there, that might work. So I clean up after myself everywhere I am so that you cannot tell, and I cannot tell that I've been in there, except that it looks better. And people shouldn't be able to tell that you have been in a room, and you can teach this to your children too. Make out like you are a detective, and if you can't detect who's been in that room, they've done a pretty good job. except in some cases you can tell who's been in that room because it looks better than when you saw it before. So you know someone's been there. They've added something, or they've made it cleaner or nicer, or just made it more beautiful. So now I believe that if you have a new perspective on your homemaking, by the way, hope you're not looking at me, and I hope you keep working. If you get a new perspective on your house and your homemaking, then you will have less feelings of anxiety and of restlessness and wanting to leave. You'll actually think that your home is really a better place. You start going out thinking, oh, I need to get out of here. I feel confined. I want to go. You want to go, and then you find out in the public it's not so clean. It's not so nice. And people, of course, are there, and they're not dressed very nice sometimes, and kind of have to avert your eyes. And then you discover that home is actually the best place. So bring the elements that you like into your home and make it a better place. So some of the things that I do, and you might like to too, to give yourself a new perspective, is to think of your house as you're cleaning it as a fabulous lodge or a guest house, and you are expecting a guest, which could be you. And so you're creating this beautiful, beautiful place, and you're somebody different in a way, because you come in with the attitude and it's a perspective of making this a worthwhile place to live for other people. And you can be in one of the worst situations you can imagine. And I have seen people that ended up almost homeless get themselves up and out, and get the most humble place they could possibly live and fix it up so that it was tolerable. Not only tolerable, but they made life beautiful for themselves. And you have to have an attitude that every day is a celebration and that life is special. It could be snuffed out in a minute. So every day is special. You don't have boredom that way. When you think of every moment as just a blessed gift, and if you're homeschooling, this is something so important to teach your children. Every moment and every word and every thought is so important that it must be guarded, and that you must not waste your life with boredom and with constant worries and regrets. And I don't like to always look back and see what I did wrong, except for using it for doing better. And one of the things I think many of us suffer from is not having seen opportunities that we could have taken advantage of. And I just thought of one the other day where I missed an opportunity because it didn't quite sink in, that would have been an opportunity. So that is the one thing you can do. The only thing you can do about that is pray for God to make you more alert so that you can see opportunities and know when to take advantage of them, and know when it's the right time. So that sort of thing, though, you don't have to dwell on the past so much. When you're homemaking, you can have the goal of always moving forward. If you always move forward and you look at what you could do to move forward, you won't sink down into a sea of regrets. So in your home, of course, you might have let some things go, and you might have also sold a couch you should have saved, or sold a car you should have kept. You can't go back. So what you want to do is use it to move forward and make life better for yourself, and you can do that with God's help. And so I would like to also say that, in the beginning of these videos, I always say let's start with our appearance. But I really believe that after you have made a list in which you have included, number 1, take care of my appearance, that you would please submit that list to God as a prayer, that you could succeed and that He will help you succeed. And have an air of hopefulness and opportunity and a mindset of success, that even if it does not succeed, don't be discouraged. Don't have a meltdown, because some people's lives depend on your staying upbeat. And so now I've been talking for about 30 minutes. I don't know how much longer I can go, but I know that in an hour you could probably get a bedroom cleaned. You could probably get your kitchen cleaned up with your dishwasher unloaded and loaded. Now, in my last video, I mentioned that at night you turn your dishwasher on because all day long you should be loading it. You shouldn't be having a pile of dishes in the sink like I do. I've had a hard time adjusting to this two dishwashers because I didn't grow up with them. But in the morning you unload your dishes, and that's because you need that dishwasher to be blank and empty as a receptacle for the next lot of dirty dishes, so that you don't stick those in the sink. So you unload it in the morning, and then all day long you rinse your dishes and stick them in, and then at night, if there are enough, you don't have to do that, but at night, if there are enough, you can go ahead and do a full load of dishes. And most dishwashers have settings for rinses only, or light loads, or that sort of thing, so you can run it. And that way the dishes are in there. Even if they're still dirty, they're not piled up in the sink, and they don't look bad and smell bad. You've rinsed them and put them in there, and then at night it's kind of soothing, to get ready for bed. And then just before I get into the bedroom and I'm getting ready to get under the covers, I push that button that says start, and that dishwasher makes this humming noise, and I hear the water going, and it's kind of nice. I like it. It's relaxing for me. And so that is one thing you need to do, and then take that list and commit it to God, and list the things you'd like to do and that you want to do, and maybe you'll get one thing done. And you can get so overwhelmed that I think it's very important to have a master list, and that's all those things you see. You go through your house with a clipboard and a paper, and you write down and put a little box beside each thing you write down, and you write down all the things that need to be done, even if it's not urgent. And then you try to do one of those things every day. Because if you look at a list like that, you could get overwhelmed, and then all you want to do after that is just escape. So you just make sure that you know that some things are going to take a while to accomplish. And this will help, I think, having a master list. And I like to add things to my master list. Like one thing I added yesterday was move the stove and sweep under it. That's one of the hardest things for me. The stove moves very easily, and I could do it, but it always seems like such a huge job. So gradually, as you start to have a new perspective on your work, and you start doing it with a new purpose, and thinking of your house as some special location or something special, then you will find less and less desire and inclination to want to go somewhere else. And all of our lives, most of us have gotten up in the morning and had to go somewhere else. Well, when I started homeschooling my children, I got rid of that habit. And that was, you get up in the morning and there's a whole different routine now. And it's the joy of getting up, and the joy of seeing a new day, and quietly getting ready and enjoying your house and enjoying your property and enjoying what you're going to do that day, and not always having to go somewhere else. And that is part of what creates these restless feelings, is that you get in a habit of going somewhere else in the morning. And if you're a new homemaker and you've come home from the workplace, you might feel that way, that we're going to get up and go somewhere else. And if you have a problem with that, the only thing that really helps is to get dressed up as though you are somewhere else, and to treat your home as though you have gone somewhere else. And I have several friends who have created special areas in their home, like a coffee and tea station, or somewhere that makes them feel like they are going out, and bringing in elements in their home that make them cheerful and happy. So people are people. That's the next subject, is people. And I hope to read a couple of things from Ethel Cotton's conversation course, and I've already lost my page here. Let me see, where is that? This one is called Guiding Conversations, and it comes from the set of booklets that I ordered that was printed in the 1960s, and apparently was a course you could take called Ethel Cotton's Course in Conversation, and it had six booklets in it. And some of you saw that I had put that there and bought it, but maybe you haven't had a chance to really read it or get interested in it. Lesson number 1 is guiding conversations. So we had discussed in several of my videos, which apparently is a problem to everybody, is getting around people who are talking around about the wrong things or negative things or becoming argumentative on every little thing. And maybe everybody knows somebody that is so professional at arguing that no matter what you say, if you said the sky was blue, they'd say it was black. If you said this is a nice cup of tea, they would say, well, not always. And they are just professional negative people. And so they can sometimes debilitate you so much that you have to go somewhere else to walk around for a while and get the taint off of having to listen to this constant negativity. So this book here was very, very good when it talked about changing the subject, guiding conversation. And the technique was that the person that is talking about something that maybe you don't want revealed or you don't want them to talk about, and or they're talking about too much or revealing too much, and it could be somebody in your own family too that maybe is trusting people too much and revealing too much about their bank account or about their weight or about something, some mistake they made, and you don't want any more of that. So what you do is you wait a little bit and catch the end of their conversation or a word or two in the conversation and say, speaking of, maybe there was a word there, and you say, speaking of, they'll say, well, there's been a change in my life and such has happened. Speaking of changes, did you notice the new construction work that's going on Highway 99? Or, you know, of course, that's kind of boring for me, but you might want to think of some creative thing. You're all smarter than I am, actually. You could think of some creative thing to talk about. If you catch someone talking about something that is not proper, that is not wholesome, and that is very negative, that is kind of bringing everybody else's mood down, then you say, speaking of, and you pick up a word on their sentence, and you introduce a new subject, and that way you change the subject. Now, that could be used in a rude way, so you don't want to give just anybody that idea, because people can also take it the other way. So we want to use it for good and for positive things. So one thing I'd like to talk to you about having negative people around. Now, if it's a relative and it's somebody in your life that you pretty much have to have in your life, and I'm sure that the world will tell you, oh, well, just get away from them, just cut them off and everything. But we're Christians and we don't do that. So sometimes we have to have them around, and you might have an opportunity to teach them to do better just by some of these techniques. And when you get around someone who is, or someone gets around you who is going to be negative, and they've done it all their life and they're pretty good at it, it's not very likely that you can change them. So what you want to do is quit feeding them. So if you'll notice that they tend to contradict everything you say, then stop saying anything. Just be completely silent and see how far that goes. And the other thing that you can do that puts you in total control is to ask questions. When you're in an arguing situation or someone is very negative and they're always contradicting you, then you ask them questions, and that puts you in control. And the questions you ask will guide their minds into an answer. So you will say, like someone comes over and they say, oh, I noticed you're painting that cabinet. That's not a good color. You can start giving your excuses, you know. Well, I wanted to change and it was a bit chipped and I couldn't find the exact color, so I changed it to white. And they'll say, oh, whites, I just couldn't live with white. I just couldn't, you know, and they'll give you all that. And so what you need to do is ask, well, how are you doing on your cabinets over there? How are you doing on your walls? Do you have anything that needs to be painted in your house? And of course, some of these people are just perfect, aren't they? They never have any needs. They never have any problems. Nothing's wrong with anything that they do. So to work with these people and work around them, you just work around them. And one of the things that I ran into when I was homeschooling is criticism from some of the dearest people, relatives, friends, anybody And so I learned a phrase from a friend that had successfully homeschooled her kids. And when someone said something very negative to her, and it discouraged her and it made her unhappy, she'd say, well, I'm really thankful God's given me this opportunity, and I hope I can make it what it should be. Who can argue with that? Who can argue with that? Because possibly they haven't thought through something like that. So these negative people, keep your mouth shut or ask questions, and make sure the questions are going to lead them in a different direction. So now I have another one of these conversation course booklets, and it was called Too Tired to Talk, and it's lesson number 4. And this was really interesting. And it says here, and what I would say is substitute that word too tired to talk to too disinterested to talk. Maybe you just have lost interest in something that you have to go to and you just really don't feel like keeping up a conversation. And so they give a couple of things, and this is why this booklet is so important, because I turned this booklet into something that I could do to regain interest in my home and in my homemaking and in doing those things these repetitive things and maybe some tedious things that you have to do over and over every day to give it new interest, okay, to give it a new perspective. So the above, it says here, now this is for business, and this is for conversations where maybe you have to make a speech or something like that, but I have twisted it around to mean homemaking or working with people around you as a homemaker. So if it is a business engagement, imagine what value the meeting will have for you if you present your proposition in the right way. See yourself conversing intelligently and enthusiastically, impressing the importance of your message on the listener. So you see yourself as approaching your work at home in an enthusiastic and intelligent way. Maybe things, let's say you're just washing the dishes. Why don't you have a look at your cabinet and encounter things? Is there some way you could rearrange everything that has to stay on your cabinet top in a different way, in a more pleasing way? Are there some things you can eliminate to give it a more bare look? Is there something you could add to make it a happier place? And look at it with a new perspective. So it says, see yourself conversing intelligently and enthusiastically. One of the things you can do when you're in a dull conversation and you're not interested is to speak a little bit more with more inflection. And we talked about before about movies and how you learn things from them. And one of my favorite series is Wives and Daughters for many different reasons. And I remember that Molly had come into, now Molly was the daughter of a widowed man who had remarried a widow, and she had come to live with them. And while Molly was away somewhere, this new mother took all of Molly's furniture out and sold it out of her bedroom and was going to put new stuff in because she thought it was too shabby. So Molly came in and said, "What have you done with my things?" And her new mama said, "Moderate your tone, darling." So I always remembered that phrase. And nobody's supposed to like Hyacinth because she was just kind of ditzy, but you can learn a lot from these people. But I always remember that phrase, "Moderate your tone, darling." So in moderating your tone, and I've done this in a previous video, and I only just now started labeling all my videos so that you knew some of the subjects that would be in them, and that was one I didn't label. But you know, you have your lower resonators and your upper resonators, and you have your vocals and your subvocals and your aspirates and your diphthongs and all this stuff that you learn in homeschooling and in the olden days. And you learn to moderate your tone. And this is what we all need to learn also, to keep people interested, to prevent monotone, to prevent too much of a flat sound, to prevent too much of a dull sound. And so when you start thinking about this and you're not interested and there's conversation going around you that just bores you to death, then you speak a little bit differently, a little more enthusiastically. And it says, You will feel less tired than you did before you began the mental exercises. Now, the mental exercises are alertness, interest, and understanding. This is on page 6 of Ethel Cotton Conversation Course, lesson number 4, Too Tired to Talk. So I've changed that to Too Disinterested to Talk. You are almost excited. Your blood runs more rapidly. You are thinking of the meeting, the party, the business engagement, or whatever it is as an adventure. So if you look at things as an opportunity, then your perspective changes on it. And later on in this particular issue, they tell you to start collecting a series of stories and examples that you can use that you know well. And of course, don't use the same ones all the time like Mr. S does. He's got all these jokes and things that he uses over and over, hardly ever changes them. But that's what he likes. And of course, he likes to meet new people because he can tell the old jokes again. So you have generated emotional energy and inner stimulation which follows a desire to do a certain thing. The above exercise may be summed up in 2 statements. Look back to catch the original enthusiasm. Now, this is what really has helped me in my housework. It's not about conversation. It's about housework. I'm just applying this Too Tired to Talk lesson for housework. Too tired to do housework or too disinterested. And so I've talked about this in that perspective. So look back at the original enthusiasm. And so it is really quite enjoyable to look back at maybe the first time you entered your house thinking, what can be done with this? Where am I going to put this? And how I'm going to turn this little hovel into a home. And so that, to have a new perspective when I walk into my house, it just excites me. How am I going to redo my porch? How am I going to redo my living room? Or how I'm going to give it a new look? And if I walk into one of my rooms and I don't like it and it depresses me, I think, well, it's time for a new bouquet of flowers. You can do so many things. It's time to change the pillows around, to take the cushions from the living room and put them in another room, and take the cushions from one room and just give it a new look. So look back to catch the original enthusiasm and look forward for your opportunity to present something and to almost rescue the conversation from its dullness, or to add something that can be beneficial to other people. Be sure to groom your mind with modern and vitalizing ideas. So I talked about being, I can't quite think of the word, but being of value in what you say and what you do. And so when you use that perspective in your housekeeping and your housework, going beyond the call of duty, going beyond, going the second, third, and fourth mile to make a beautiful and happy and a home with an atmosphere of love by the way you place things, by the way you clean things, and making it a better place, then you can revive your enthusiasm for it, and other people will notice too. Continue this line of thinking until you reach your destination, and I'll read that for you again. Be sure to groom your mind with modern and vitalizing ideas. Keep your wardrobe of thought up to date. Continue this line of thinking until you reach your destination. And I like that, wardrobe of thought. So you have a wardrobe with things that you can draw on to talk about, but then in the home, to translate this whole concept to the home, is you have a wardrobe of thought in your minds of different things that you can do with your home, to your home, and what uses you can have for your home. And there have been people that have made lists online of all the things you are as a homemaker. You're a hostess, you're a nurse, you're a cleaner, you're a decorator, and just all these things that you do to show the perspectives of the home. Have you ever tried to use a last year's telephone directory? If so, you undoubtedly called many numbers but received no answer. Your directory of ideas must be as up-to-date as your telephone directory if you expect to get a response. So much for the mental approach before you arrive at your place of appointment. Now this is talking about reviving your interest in having a conversation or speaking. I'm using it for reviving your interest in the home, but both are very valuable in the home. So these are a few things that you can use, and I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. But if you're too disinterested to talk or to work in your home, then find something original. Think about something original. Think about something unusual, and create new ideas and plans. Now, one of the things that I do when I hate to say stuck, but stuck in a situation where I can't leave, and the conversation is terrible, and they are, of course, going to contradict anything I say, is I keep a little notebook beside my plate or my teacup, and I start making plans. What am I going to do with my sewing? What am I going to do when I get home? What things need to be cleaned? What would I like to do? Who do I need to call? What are some subjects I'd like to talk about on my next video? And I keep that little notebook and I write down some things. And of course, some of those people think that I'm writing down their ideas, or and I keep a pleasant look, and I just make plans. And I got this from Mr. S because he's been to so many meetings over the years, and he kept his little day timer with him, and he would write his plans, and he was really good about doing the little box in front of whatever it needs he checked off. One of the neat things and exciting things for me about making a master list is you put that little box there, or making your daily list, and I'll look at something and think, that doesn't look very, I don't want to do that. That's on my list, but I don't want to clean off that little end table. That doesn't seem exciting to me. Then I think of my list, and I can check that box off. I can put an X in the box. And it's so neat to see that box every day clicked, and the line of things that I've actually accomplished. So too disinterested to talk and too disinterested to work, you've got to think new ideas and re-stimulate yourself. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about meetings. And the reason for that is every now and then somebody who gets a little disgruntled with you, whether it's family, friends, or just anybody, decides they want to call you and ask you, could you meet with them somewhere, or could they come over, they want to talk to you. Look, that is not a good thing. And I will tell you from experience, from the olden days, that if they cannot tell you on the phone what the subject is, could they even give you an idea? Well, could you tell me what it is? And they don't want to tell you, that they're coming packed with a plan that you know nothing about. You're going to be like a deer in headlights without being prepared, and it's probably something not good, and it might be against you, and you don't have a ready answer because you haven't thought it through. They might accuse you of having said something rude and you don't even remember it, or you haven't had time to think about it. Maybe you did say something. Now, I'll give you an example. One time, I was passing a woman on a stairs, and we were in a business, and I was passing this woman on a stair step, and she said, hello, how are you? And I said, fine, it's a nice day, or have a nice day, or something like that. Well, then she went to someone and complained and said that I had said, get out of my way, but she was hard of hearing, and she did not hear what I said. And so later on, she wanted to have a meeting, and I wanted to know what was the meeting about, and she said, oh, I can't tell you till you get here. Of course, when I got there, she had the place stacked full of people who were willing to take her side to say that I had been rude, okay? And I didn't know it. And of course, I didn't have anything to hide, so I went to the meeting. And then I learned something from that, and over the years, forgetting every now and then and going to some meeting, that you don't go to a meeting. You have to, unless you have the information of what they want to talk about. If they won't tell you what it's going to be about, then you don't need to go. And if they insist that you come, then what you can do is something that I did years ago. And every now and then life starts going pretty good, and somebody will catch you off guard, and you'll go and remember, I wasn't going to go to any more of these meetings. So let me know in the comments if you've ever gotten caught in a meeting and it was against your better judgment to go, but you went, because we like to work things out, don't we? But you get with these disgruntled people and they will not even allow you to apologize, ask for forgiveness, because they want to continue being mad at you and to hate you. So they can't have you um, to apologize, because they're not going to accept the apology, and they're also going to say that it wasn't sincere. I don't know how many of you could write to me and leave a comment and see if that's ever happened to you. But finally, after a couple of these incidences in my life, and you know, having been in private business with my husband, and in also family and social and different types of things like that, after arriving at meetings where there was a long list of things that I didn't know anything about, that I was supposed to explain, and someone asked me, could they meet me? And I said, well, could you tell me just on the phone what it is? Because we could just work it out on the phone, you know. Could you just tell me? And they didn't want to. They wanted a meeting, because a meeting means they get to bring a file and they get to have a lot. They're prepared. You're not prepared, because you don't know what it's about, but they do. So when they asked for a meeting, like I had thought, and there was a certain place that the meeting was going to be, and one time it was actually at my house, and I saw what was happening. I didn't go in the house. I was kind of like out walking around. They all showed up, and they went in the house for this meeting, or I went into the meeting place for this meeting, and I got in my car and went shopping. I went to the mall, because I discovered that they all start arguing with each other too. So this is just one of the things that people do. I don't think it's scriptural. It doesn't follow Matthew 18, where you're supposed to tell the person first, you know, what the problem is, and privately. And more often than not, they don't do that. They will not call you on the phone and tell you personally. They want to have a meeting. They stack the meeting. They have a list. They have all this stuff and all this evidence, and it's a big argument. So with this sort of thing, I would say, if you want peace in your life and you don't want to be upset all the time, these meetings are not good for homemakers. They're not good for housewives, and for women especially. And you don't need to do that. So just if they insist on a meeting and they will not leave you alone, just say, sure, let's meet at such and such a place at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, whatever, and then don't show up because you were sick. And you were sick and tired of arguing. So ladies, don't do as I say, but I am just talking to you about some things that happened in the olden days, and I'm not suggesting that you do that, but I am just giving my opinion, and I'm speaking because of my freedom of speech, and it's a take it or leave it thing. And if I was talking to you across the table, I wouldn't delete anything that I said, so I can't be held, I don't want to have a meeting about it, but if you have anything to say, please leave me a comment, and hopefully you can all identify with some of these things in conversation and in meetings, and in how we can approach our home life with a better feeling of enthusiasm. And one reason I think you have to avoid some of these unpleasant meetings that people want to have is because you can't have a good attitude for your home if it's been made unpleasant. And especially if someone wants to sit around your table in your house where you've done a lot of housework and just argue with you, run you down, and try to tell you that you're no good. How is that going to affect your homemaking? Well, you won't have any enthusiasm for it at all. So you should avoid that kind of thing if you possibly can. And that your goal is to approach your home in a way that God would want you to. If they start running you down, just say, I love the opportunity to be a homemaker, and I hope I can do it the way God wants me to. Thanks for visiting, and thanks for your prayers, and I will see you next time. Bye.